of the key ways that people change their bad habits or overcome weaknesses or change mediocre attributes into strong attributes is because of motivation. And people often derive their various motivations from their personal interests or desires. Your interests and desires can give you insights into which skill areas you might be more successful in improving, because you're more likely to spend time practicing something that you enjoy or something for which you have a more personal and meaningful purpose, rather than something that you're merely fixing because you consider it to be a weakness. Now, there are a lot of naysayers out there who say that following your passions or chasing your dreams is a waste of time, that you only should put your efforts into something that you're already good at, perhaps ignoring to some extent the focus of your interests or desires. And I'll address this in just a minute, but first let me give you a short example. In his book, StrengthsFinder 2.0, author Tom Rath uses the example of Rudy Ruettiger, the protagonist of the 1993 movie Rudy, as an example of what Rath implies should not be done. Rudy wanted to play football for Notre Dame, and after years and years of practice, was only able to suit up and play for the final 3 plays, mere seconds, of the final home game. Rath implies that Rudy would have been better off if he had focused on his strengths rather than on his desires, that he would have been more successful if he had not focused on playing football. Yet all interviews I've seen of Rudy Ruettiger suggest that he's extremely happy with the results of his efforts to take that, what some would consider a weakness, or at the very least an undeveloped strength, and develop it into something that was of importance to him, even if it didn't result in a college or professional football career. So while Rath might suggest that Rudy was inefficient in his development of key strengths, Rudy Ruettiger did what ultimately made him happy, and has been an inspiration to many people ever since. When you're pursuing your interests, desires, and passions, this doesn't necessarily mean that they'll dictate the direction of your career. Just because you like to paint doesn't mean that you should be an artist who sells paintings for a living. But to develop that skill can be extremely worthwhile, and you're likely to develop positive traits in the meantime as a result of putting your effort into something for which you already have a great deal of passion. For example, perhaps you'll learn perseverance, patience, humility, the benefits of long hours of practice, the ability to accept and apply external criticism, and or even the enjoyment and reinvigorating benefits of time spent alone. Whether your interests and desires are ultimately synonymous with your career, are only slightly integrated into your career, or are completely separate from your career, focusing your efforts to improve yourself in areas in which you already have strong interests, desires, or passions can often bring unexpected benefits in seemingly unrelated areas of your personal and professional growth. Not to mention, you'll enjoy yourself while you're pursuing these activities. There are several simple questions you can ask yourself to assess your interests, desires, and passions. Some of these address what you enjoy and others what motivates you. Some of these questions are: what motivates you? What do you like to do? What do you enjoy? What makes you happy? What inspires you? And what drives you? To make sure you don't overlook anything, ask some close friends or family members what they think motivates you. Sometimes their perspectives will add some depth to this type of an assessment. And don't forget that there can be times that hard work in a certain area or dedicated learning for a certain skill that might spark an interest that grows into a stronger passion for particular elements of a job or career. When you're done answering the previous questions and soliciting feedback from others, your goal should be to be able to write down a list of what motivates you, a list of your interests, desires, and passions. It's important to include areas even if at this point you don't think they're relevant to building your personal or professional brand. Remember that the idea is to understand your set of raw materials as a whole. Also, be sure to watch the next video in this series where we'll talk about assessing your personality and how that can interact with other raw material categories when building your personal brand. Thanks for watching.